Hello again, and welcome to the Stafford Connect podcast. I'm Tom Cohen. Today's episode will be the second in our two-part series featuring members from the Stafford County Fire and Rescue Department. Last month, we met with Chief Cardello and Captain John Henson to talk about the Swift Water Rescue Team and their role in Hurricane Helene relief efforts. Today, we'll lead off again with the Chief, who will introduce two more hardworking specialists in the department. Our first featured guest is Kim Orr, who's the public health specialist. And our second is Iris Franklin, a fire inspector attached with the fire marshal's office. Let's start by welcoming back Chief Joseph Cardello. Hello, Chief, and welcome back to Stafford Connect.
Hello.
It's great having you again. So last time we talked about the water rescue and hurricanes and flooding. This time we're going to talk about other issues that are in your department. So on our last episode, you talked about the public health specialist slightly, but can you give us an overview of what the role of this public health specialist is in fulfilling your basically your mission?
Mm-hmm. The public health specialist position was kind of born out of the pandemic. We were a few months into COVID, and we had the county government. We had lots of folks contracting COVID, and we needed to report it to VDH, and we had policy and protocols from the state and the federal government were constantly changing. We didn't have anybody to manage it. So we were successful in we asked for and were successful in getting a position called public health specialist. And so that position has some internal functions and some external. So the internal functions to the department and the county government, that position serves as the designated infection control officer. So if there's ever any outbreak, and it doesn't have to be a pandemic, it can be of pretty much anything. If there's an outbreak of something, they have the responsibility to track it, to report it to VDH, and to follow it up to make sure that the person or the group is getting the care that they need to take care of that. Externally is really where the public health specialist spends a lot of time. And you'll hear, I'm sure, the stories of all of the partner organizations, all of the work that Ms. Orr is able to do outside in our community, helping people, giving them access to healthcare and services that they otherwise would not have access to. She is able to partner with VDH and lots of nonprofits and churches to go out into the community and reach these people. And they're dealing with hundreds of people every week, that they're contacting and helping and pointing them in the right direction. And it's an amazing program that we're really fortunate to have.
And it'll be great to hear from her in just a minute. And what's sort of interesting is the dichotomy of Stafford, that you have a large chunk of the county that's very well off, has medical care easily accessible to them. Mm-hmm. But we also have a large portion of the county that it doesn't have that. Mm-hmm. And so by doing this, you've worked to meet a need that is there in our really diverse and split county. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And as I said, she is out multiple times a week partnering with the sheriff's office and with different church groups and nonprofits. And it's inspiring to see the work that they do.
Awesome. Well, let's go and have Kim come on and talk to us about the public health specialist position. Later on this episode, we'll bring back Chief Cardello to continue our discussion. But first, let's talk with Kim Orr. Kim is the public health specialist attached with the Emergency Management Office. Her role in the department is diverse, which directly affects the quality of life for many people. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you, Tom.
It's always great to see you.
It's a pleasure to see you, too. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you. Why don't you tell our listeners and our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name's Kim Orr. I am the public health specialist for Stafford County Fire and Rescue, Office of Emergency Management. Um, I am from San Diego, California, and I've been here for about 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've worked with the fire department for the last 5 years.
Wow. So what in general does a public health specialist do?
So
As I cough.
I have a couple hats. I serve as a public health specialist and designated infection control officer for fire and rescue that protects the responders from communicable diseases and to protect our community from disease as well.
Oh, wow. And it's sort of two different avenues, I guess, because the most people are familiar with the diseases or what you could be exposed to as an ordinary citizen, but fire and rescue is exposed to far different types of things.
That's correct. As the infection control officer, I ensure that I work with our stakeholders and VDH and know what's coming into our county and relay that to our field operation teams so that they are well protected using their standard precautions, as well as making sure that every year we are updating our infection control policies so that they have a guideline to go by.
Right. I mean, it's sort of, it's having done ride-alongs, when you go to a house, you don't know what the environment is you're going to go in or what chemicals or whatever could be exposed.
Correct.
Whether it's not just a fire type thing, but even if it's just a health thing, what they may have been exposed to, which now our fire and rescue personnel are exposed to.
Correct. They are exposed to different types of illnesses, airborne illnesses, bloodborne pathogens, and this way we have a guideline for them to keep them safe. They know what PPE to wear. If they have an exposure, or I will handle the post-exposure, follow up with them and walk them through the whole process.
One of the things you mentioned was with the citizens, and there could be housing referrals or food referrals or things of that nature.
We have a public health education van, and what we do with that is we go out into the community and we provide preventative health screenings for those who don't have access to health care or transportation issues. If they lack food insecurities or resources, we provide those resources for the individual. And I receive those referrals from many of our field personnel. They are out there every day, and so they see a lot more than I do. And when they refer them to me, I follow up and I go out into the community and make sure that we bring those services to the people of Stafford County.
Right. I mean, when my mom was ailing, you all did a great job with lift and assist.
Yes.
And thankfully, the giant we go to would come out to the car to give her various shots and et cetera. But other people are not that fortunate. So you having this van is a really great service to people.
We hope so. And I have seen it does help. We break that barrier in transportation and access to healthcare down. We bring the van to the different communities and we provide glucose checks, which is blood sugar, to make sure that you don't have diabetes. We also provide blood pressure, pulse ox, heart rate, BMI, and health education. If anyone that I come across has any elevated blood pressures or elevated blood glucose, I refer them to a doctor. And if they don't have a doctor or need help finding the right doctor, that's where I come in and connect them to the services that they need.
And that's really awesome. And it's really an interesting sort of development in what I think we're sort of, Stafford's sort of on the cusp of trying to do things like that. That wasn't normal.
No, I believe since we've received this van, we've had the van start beginning around COVID. We used to go out and give homebound vaccinations to those who needed it and could not come out of their homes. So we repurposed the van after COVID to have the preventative health services for the underserved community and as well as unhoused. We will go out daily and make sure that they are provided with the care and access to care that they need.
And that's, quite honestly, that's just phenomenal. I find that great that we do that. And you've led the effort on expanding this and making this really a benefit to the community. So I'm going to give a shout out to you because it's
thank
just
you.
really impressive.
We're available in all of PD 16. We've been
Planning District 16 for those who.
Yeah. We've been to Fredericksburg, many different church events, many different neighborhoods. There's 7 underserved communities that we have here in Stafford County, and we work closely with all of our stakeholder partners with DSS, VDH, RAD. I'm probably saying these little acronyms that no one knows, but we have a lot of stakeholders and partners that provide us referrals and work closely with us, so we're able to provide a whole care model for our citizens.
Well, and it's really neat, not to keep harping on this, but for example, going to the churches, because people can get rides to the churches, but often they don't have a way to get rides to various doctors or whatever offices. So that's really awesome. And we always hear how Stafford County is the wealthiest, one of the wealthiest counties in the country. However, that's not every single citizen.
Correct. I mean, we can be the wealthiest county in the country and still have those people that are living a little below the poverty line, or even they're above the poverty line. But again, being the richest county comes with its challenges for those who can't afford the median or doesn't have the median income.
Right.
Right.
And without a vibrant public transportation system as well, that makes it very difficult for people to get to somewhere. So this is just a tremendous service you do.
We work close hand in hand with Micah Ministries as well when it comes to helping the unhoused population and some of our 17 corridor motels. Those people are in transition, and sometimes they're not staying here in Stafford, but we're able to provide resources and referrals to them outside of Stafford as well. So if they're going to North Carolina, I can still refer them to someone in North Carolina. If they're going to California, I can provide a referral to California. It depends on what their need is.
Oh, that's terrific. And that is something I've learned, and I teach my students that often with people in the market over the last many years, they lose their home. One person loses his job, they lose their home. They end up everybody's living in a hotel.
Yeah.
1 hotel room or 2 hotel rooms for the whole family until they can try to do something. So it's really nice to have something to help those who are really in need.
Well, prior to becoming this public health specialist, I was a volunteer with CERT for Stafford County Fire and Rescue, which is our community emergency response team. And during that time, when I moved here in Virginia in 2015, my previous my previous position, I was a school teacher for about 10 years. And I just thought I needed to help more people. So I went back to school and I got my master's in public health and decided what bigger platform would it be to help everyone. Stafford County Fire and Rescue, we're a part of Healthy People 2030, and we really take those Healthy People 2030 goals and we align those with our own, which is the lack and access to transportation. We break that barrier for food insecurities, access to health care, and we try and see what we can do with that. Our field personnel are also involved. They will send me referrals from what they see. If they have someone who is having a lot of lift assist calls, then they will contact me and I will do a follow-up intake and see how I can help them access the care that they need to live safely in their homes.
And the lift and assist aspect is something I really didn't understand until I did ride-alongs. Is that how frequently it is that people need assistance? And it ended up being my mom would need a lift and assist to get from the house to the car.
Yeah.
So we could go to the doctor's office and then back into the house. So
Definitely.
it's just, I think that's part of the reason of sort of focusing on the whole fire and rescue, because I think people have a narrow view of what the whole department does when it's really a wide
And so
swath.
now a lift assist is more of a crutch, I would say. We want to get to the root problem of why they are needing the lift assist. It is emergent in your eyes that we need to get it out. However, there's something causing that. Either the person's too weak or needs physical therapy. There's something missing, and we want to help those people not just have to rely on Lift Assist, but live safely in their house and be able to successfully live on their own. So that's where I come in, and then I will find out by doing an intake and figure out what is it that I can help you with. And if you are weak and you can't get up and down your stairs, that triggers me to say, okay, well, let's look at physical therapy, and then we'll get the physical therapist in and get them to do an assessment. And then a lot of people, they grow, they increase in their strength, and they're able to not utilize the services for Lift Assist. If it's something else, then we will look at what is that. They maybe don't have durable medical equipment that they need. They may need a walker. They may need a ramp. And so I connect them with the services who provide these services, mostly free of charge, because our citizens that we see are below to medium, poverty medium, and they qualify. So, I mean, we want to fix the problem and not put a Band-Aid on that problem.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what's a typical day for you like?
But I wouldn't say I ever have one typical day. My day consists of planning, whether it's planning for outreaches, planning for an emergency, since I am in the Office of Emergency Management, with a couple of positions that I oversee with infection control. I run my reports. I do post-exposure follow-ups. Of course, like I said, I plan for either emergencies or we plan for future emergencies. I plan my outreaches for the mobile clinic to know where we're going, who's going to be going on that outreach, and organizing blood drives that we actually have through Inova Blood Donor Services.
And the blood drives are fairly frequent.
We have blood drives that are quarterly throughout the year. Every 3 months, we host a blood drive at St. Peter's Church, and these blood drives are hosted by Stafford County Fire and Rescue through Inova Blood Donor Services. What that means, any of the blood that we collect, and it's open to the community, our firefighters, our sheriff's department, and their families, we get to collect blood through Inova, and Inova has a partnership with us. And it's an actually unique partnership that we are one of the only jurisdictions around that's able to carry whole blood and provide this to the community in the field. So before you get to the hospital, we're able to give you that whole blood on the scene if you have a trauma. And I think that's really unique and life-saving, and that's something that is staying here in Stafford County. The blood we collect will stay here and save someone's life, maybe you, myself, my family, anyone.
And I've heard from different fire and rescue personnel and students and whatnot how effective that has been. That when there's been an accident or whatever, they can actually start doing work with the blood immediately rather than just waiting to do anything until it gets to the hospital. And so it's just amazing that Stafford has been going forward with that.
Am I allowed to ask a question?
Yes.
How many liters of blood do we have in a human body?
I have no idea.
5 liters. That's not a lot.
No.
And you can bleed out quick. So having whole blood at the scene and be able to provide that is life-saving and game-changing for us.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I'm just really massively impressed about you all and the county fire and rescue service. It's just always on the cutting edge of coming up with something that's really inventive and moving forward. So how does the health screening process prevent larger emergencies from happening?
Early detection keeps minor issues from becoming life-threatening for us. So, like example, critical blood pressures, or if you have high blood sugar and you are unaware of it, we're able to catch it early and then stop that from becoming a true emergency, a life-threatening emergency. And overall, primary care is a lot cheaper than emergency care.
Right. Awesome. So how does addressing public health disparities strengthen the emergency preparedness?
Well, health disparities make the community a little more vulnerable. When you have people that are lacking resources, they don't really have access to what the normal people have. So at-risk populations kind of overall affect our resilience as a community in a whole. From a public health standpoint, a healthier community is a more resilient community.
Right. And it's funny, I don't know if we've done it recently, but for several years, uh, there would be studies about how many students in the public school system are considered homeless. And it was a large number. I mean, it was percentages in the 20% or more. So it just, again, it just shows that there's the county has such a disparity between what people think and then what there really is out there.
So we work closely with the COC with the point in time counts, so we can kind of get a snapshot of what we're looking at when we're looking at the unhoused individuals in our community, as well as McKinney-Vento with the school system. So we do have a good overall snapshot of what we're looking at and how to take care of them. We just lack a little bit of state and federal support when it comes to that, and that's across America. It's not just here in Stafford County or Virginia, but we are seeing that a little bit.
And that's a major challenge because with the state and the federal government and other entities sort of not being as forthcoming, that sort of leaves a gap of where we're going to be able to help people.
Definitely. We are seeing a little challenges when it comes to federal funding being cut. I've had a couple of partner stakeholders have to pull out from helping. Their outreaches and their numbers have been cut as well to help the community. So a little more heavier on the fire department prevention health van now that we are losing our partners. My referral services to refer people to doctors are being cut in half because of the funding as well. So it does become challenging to try and find the right resource for people, but overall, we are all working together still with what we have, and hopefully we'll be increasing and going back to where we were soon.
And there's just a massive mindset in your whole organization, and I think you are an epitome of it. That that regardless of what resources may be there, there's just a massive commitment to do the most we can with everything to help the population in this county.
Definitely, lack of housing resource is a major effect, cause and effect for people to move into motels, and as you mentioned earlier, have single families all in one room. I come across this weekly. We see over 100 to 200 people a week in the health van, and I get to know these families and build rapport with these families, and so I have regulars that see me, and I become part of their family, it kind of seems, and I know what they need or what they may not need. And one of the things, referring them to our partner, Central Virginia Health Services, has been a steady 2-year partnership, and we really thank them for taking on and the referrals. We have wait lists for mental health and behavioral health, 6 to 7 months for someone to be seen. You have to really be in a crisis, and I think that once you wait to get to that crisis level, it's a little too late. So we're trying to hone in on prevention. Part of my background in emergency management, we want to prevent an emergency. Prevent is the way to go instead of react.
And that's, again, that's one of the watch phrases for the whole department. I mean, from going out and putting smoke detectors where they're needed to doing things in the schools to help people understand and help the community. I mean, that's something that Stafford Fire and Rescue is just really good at, is looking at what to do to prevent problems, not just be reactive. And so
Definitely.
We really appreciate all the work you've been doing in your work of transitioning the van from what it was forced for to being something that is helping all sorts of aspects in our community. And we appreciate everything you're doing for us, Kim.
Well, I appreciate it as well. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Nice to see you again.
Good seeing you again. Thanks, Kim, for the important work you do. And now we'd like to return Chief Cardello to the program. Well, welcome back, Chief. There was a lot of great information and a lot of really great work by Kim. and doing things. Now we're going to shift to the area of the fire marshal's department and the fire inspector. We have Iris Franklin on to talk about being a fire inspector. What's sort of the difference, and why is there a need to do two different things of having fire marshals and inspectors?
So the inspectors, they go out and they make sure that our businesses and public assemblies are safe. They're meeting the fire prevention code. There's no blocked exits. There's no hazards that would cause mass harm if they weren't mitigated. The fire, it all falls under the fire marshal's office. So the fire marshal has, broad authority to do inspections, but they also do fire investigations. So when we have a fire, they are trained to go out and figure out the cause and origin of the fires. We have, they have police powers, so they can do official investigations when it comes to arson and some other areas. So it's not just inspections. It's a whole bunch of different things wrapped into one.
We'll come back to the chief after our next guest. Iris Franklin is the fire inspector attached to the fire marshal's office. Her responsibilities include ensuring the safety of our public spaces throughout the county. So if you're a business owner, you're likely to see her from time to time. And that's just one small part of the work she does. And so we're continuing our discussion about the fire and rescue program in Stafford. And I'm really fortunate to have with us Iris Franklin, who's a fire inspector and a friend of mine for many, many years. So Welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
So first, how about a little background information about you?
Well, my name's Iris Franklin. I'm a fire inspector here in Stafford County with the fire marshal's office. I've been here. I'm also a paramedic firefighter. I've been here in Stafford County. It'll be 18 years this August.
Wow. And so I know you from EMT days.
Yes.
And
you
do a
did some
phenomenal
ride-alongs
job.
with
Yep.
us, right? Yeah.
Yep. You do amazing work. You're really good.
Thank you.
So I guess what is the fire inspector's role?
Okay, so fire inspector is solely dedicated to, my role as a fire inspector, I'm solely dedicated to doing inspections of existing commercial properties throughout here in the county, and then making sure that they're compliance with different state, local ordinance codes and guidelines, educating them, bringing awareness. And there's actually two of us. There's actually two fire inspectors.
And I did a ride along with one of the marshals, and I could see the need, because part of the ride was going to existing businesses and checking things and going through and seeing things that some was new construction.
Yes.
And so it seems sensible to sort of separate it out.
Well,
Go ahead.
Well, with all the growth that's going on in the county, yes, the fire marshals were responsible for doing the inspections of existing and new construction, in addition to other fire marshal tasks. Anytime there's an incident, like if there's a house fire, but they do a lot more than that. If there's a fuel spill, any kind of hazard that needs mitigation. I'm drawing a blank on all the things.
Right. Well, because it's a wide.
It's a wide
thought.
if of things that
if there's a fire in a business and you're trying to figure out how it started, that's a fire marshal investigation type thing.
Yes.
Whereas inspectors are sort of more educational.
Yeah. Well, my role is more it's educational and enforcement. It's going out to the properties. For example, can I just run through an inspection?
Yeah,
That
sure.
might be a little bit easier. So you go out to an inspection, and the first thing you want to know is when you find it, their addressing. A lot of people, residential and commercial, they kind of forget about their addressing, and so you need to have numerics that are visible from the roadway on your mailbox and your house. And then when we go in, you make sure that the facility that you're going in is what it was intended to be. You're establishing, you're clarifying their occupancy, meaning over time, businesses change. And so you have to be able to have a way to keep up with that. So you go in, you verify that they're actually the type of business, their occupancy type. And then you make sure the standard things, like that they have exit signs, fire extinguishers that have been inspected, occupancy loads, Yeah.
And it's sort of important, and to a certain degree as well. And you've seen this on the other end, doing the EMT and and ride-alongs with
Yeah.
with the fire people. That if there is a fire, you need to know what chemicals, what things are in the buildings, so that you know how best to handle it and
Yes.
triage and et cetera.
Yeah, so there's a system in place for that. So we have permitting for like special use, things like that. So certain buildings, the reason we go into all these units is we want to identify like if there's hazards ahead of time. Like if they're dealing in certain type of chemicals or flammables, then they're issued a permit for that. If they're doing like commercial cooking and they're using grease, you have a permit for that. If it's a place where you go into, let's say like it's in the system as a business office, but we go in and it's been changed into maybe a church where there's more than 50 people gathering, then, there's a permit for that. And it's not, I don't mean not to say like we're just showing up and saying, hey, you guys need a permit for this. We're explaining like, hey, there's a code in place to help us keep track of these places, understand what's in these businesses so that when there is a response, we understand the type of response that we're going to. And then we explain to them like why there are codes and guidelines in place that require a permit, and then we explain to them like in this case you need a permit.
Right, and that's the education element.
Yes,
of it.
exactly. Yeah.
So you do commercial
Yes.
construction and commercial businesses.
Commercial
I should say.
businesses, not no
The
construction.
existing
Yes. Mhm.
ones, and are certain ones low risk and certain ones high risk.
Yeah. So this building, for example, is an office building. So it's a low risk. So we come through every 3 years triannual inspection to make sure that that we have our emergency contacts up to date, and that this building is still being used for what it's intended for. So there's different levels. You have low risk, moderate, high, and then things that actually require a permit. So the difference, like going back to the permitting process, like if it's a vehicle repair garage, along with the permit says these are the things we kind of set you up to be safe. Like we have this permit in place to know that you're a vehicle repair garage, but that's not just because hey, there's a vehicle repair garage. We want to know how you're handling your used products. We want to know how you're handling your layout when we come in, because some have, when they're working under things, I forget what you call them, the pit. You want to establish things like that. All of this is set up just to prevent emergencies before they happen.
Right, and a large part of this, at least in my mind, is if there is an emergency, that we, meaning you all in the fire and rescue, know where the lay of the land is. So you're not just going into a building and not having any knowledge, but that you know what you're dealing with, the lay of the building or that part of the building, what chemicals, or whether they need to have certain type of gear and all that, which is really the mindset of this. Isn't a lot of people are going to be like, why are they bothering me? But the bothering is to make sure that things are done for your benefit, so that if there are chemicals or whatnot, that we know to bring the right things to take care of it.
Correct, and that's a whole different hazmat conversation. Hopefully, at some point, we'll get a chance to like do a whole nother podcast on that, right? But when people say, it's funny how you say that. When people say, "Why are you bothering me?" That's the advantage of having an inspector dedicated to working with folks to help them not just tell them what to do, but help them understand why we're asking them to do certain things. And I tell you, most people want to be in compliance. A lot of people don't know that they're not in compliance. And once you tell them the things they need to do, they want to be in compliance. And when you explain to them why you have to do certain things certain way, they get it, and they're like, oh yeah, I want to be a part of that. I want the people that walk into my business to know that that they're safe. I've done everything that I can, to make them safe.
And the employees. I mean,
and the employees.
It just means a lot more to know once you know why. That again, it goes back to education.
Yes.
A lot of people just don't really understand that.
They don't really understand. Yeah, they don't really understand it, or they didn't know. Now, there is a very, 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 very small percentage of people that yes, they know, and they just like like to push the buttons a little bit and say, well, why? But with every why, it's not like we're just telling them. We have state and local code and guidelines, specs to follow it up with, and that's a huge advantage too, because when you present that, when you present support information, and they're like, oh, they kind of relax, because it's not like we're just showing up and telling you like, hey, you need to do this, that, and the other.
Right. Well, it's sort of like, as I tell my students, there's always that
Yeah.
little tiny percent which causes the rest of us to have to do all sorts of stuff, because they're always the ones that push the buttons.
Bad things happen, rules change. And a perfect example of that is you'll go into a business and they'll say, hey, we've been here for 10 years and we didn't have to do that. Well, and I always tell them, well, like 9/11, bad things happen, a lot of rules change, but the rules are in place to keep you safe. The biggest one, or the easiest one, I should say, is fire extinguishers. In 2018, state changed the guideline that you needed to have fire extinguishers at each exit, or no more than 75 feet apart. Well, the background to that is that people, would have extinguishers on the interiors of their buildings. So instead of, if something goes wrong, you don't want people to run inside looking for a fire extinguisher. You want them to head to an exit, locate their fire extinguisher, and then turn around and reevaluate. Do I really want to go back that way, or do I want to go out the door? So things like that. And when you explain it that way, then people are like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, yeah, I'll put my fire extinguishers by the door. Thank you. Can you please mount them too? A certain height and stuff like that.
And it all makes sense. And in fact, that
Yes,
was one of
it's
the
all
things when I did the ride along and we did a commercial one. That was one of the things, was looking where the fire extinguishers were and all that. And the marshal explained it as well. But once the people hear that, they're like, okay, I get it. I understand that this is actually being beneficial.
Yeah.
Which is really nice. And because the county is growing more and more, it makes sense to sort of split and have the inspectors to do certain things, whereas the marshals are doing something else, especially with the new construction that we're having.
Yeah. One other thing, I guess I can add. There's a lot. There's so many things that the fire marshal and inspectors do, but there's other things too. Like, we'll go about outside of buildings, like fire lanes, FDC, the fire department connections that are on the exterior. There's other things when we're going around, you want to make sure that those things are clearly identified. And now with all the rain and sun that we had, the rain and then the heat came and then the rain, everything just, so now we have a lot of trees where trees weren't before. And then people don't realize, like, hey, we need to clear this away, because it's covering things, it's covering signs and covering things that people need to do. That was a little bit random, but
no, but that's true.
just,
That's something I don't. I mean, we noticed that with our house. That's the thing with the green growing and stuff and weeds. But it's true with businesses as well. I mean, there's that aspect of having these things grow up, and then it sort of blocks what we need to have.
Yeah, what we need to be able to see from the roadway, like your addresses,
right?
Like your addresses on the building.
And it's interesting because yes, we all love our GPS, but that's not always accurate. Or
correct.
The driveway for my house is not on the street I live. It's on the it's on the corner on the other side. So therefore, when people go to my house by GPS, they park in the front, and then they have to walk across the yard, which can be problematic.
Yeah.
So and I've been on ride-alongs where, you're looking for the address and the GPS is wonderful, but it may not be wonderful. Whereas if you have it on the front, it makes everybody's life a lot easier.
Right.
To do the job.
And if you're talking about residential, like you get to a split driveway, or you go to the top of the road and there's 4 or 5 mailboxes and you start working your way down, the being able to see numerics. There a lot of people don't want to take away from them being cosmetically pleasing, of course. But I always tell people in the commercial world, be proud of your address. Like the code has a standard for the size, but make it big. Make people see it from the road and know. They don't just know your business name, they know your address, because that's really what they're putting in their GPS. So,
that is true. Yes. Yeah. We were talking earlier before we started about we just had the 4th of July.
Yeah.
And how that is how people are extending the fireworks, which is beyond my comprehension. But the county has this massive show. The city does something, I think, at the at the Fred Nats. Most communities are paying loads of money for fireworks, yet everybody keeps going out and buying and doing things in their neighborhood, and that's really an issue.
All right. Well, if we're okay to talk about the 4th of July, I would love to talk about the 4th of July. So as an inspector, I got to ride along with the fire marshal, and this is my second year doing this, so it was really enlightening. For one, it's a totally different experience when you show up and no one wants you there, or when you're being booed, or when you're being, and then again, we just try to use a very pleasant approach to explain to them why this is not safe. So one of the takeaways from this past 4th that I learned, this is a very transit area. People are coming from all over. We had people that were set up pretty safe, like they had their water. They tried to set up their parameters, but obviously they don't know the guidelines because they don't have permits, so they don't realize that that's really not big enough. And shooting, like just in, and I couldn't go through all of them, but I can tell you if it leaves the ground. Actually, I'll give you an easier one. If you did not buy it in the state of Virginia, then it's probably not legal in the state of Virginia. And that's when we were asking people, where did you get your fireworks? And they don't want to say. It's like, okay, if you didn't get it from Virginia, then it's probably, there's a reason why it's not meant in Virginia. So I think going forward, like next year, these fireworks, get ahead of it a lot sooner, meaning like earlier in the year before people spend literally hundreds and thousands of dollars on these fireworks. And before people get to that point, kind of getting the word out, educating them. And then you can take a class if you want to be a professional shooter or professional, pyrotechs stuff. The state offers, classes where you can get certified to do that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And quite honestly, for the neighborhoods where everybody sort of pools together, that would make a lot of sense to go through and go take the class so that you know what you're doing.
Well, I'll tell you about the neighborhoods that get together. This is the easiest way to explain this. When you ask who do these fireworks belong to, nobody wants to own it. Okay, so they're generally set up on property like common area, the commuter lot. So there's a factor of you're not just littering, but you're causing damage to public property. There's a reason why you're not doing this. I mean, there are some people that do them in their backyards, but what you're talking about, this isn't in people's backyards. It's usually in common areas, places that they're not supposed to be. And if something goes wrong, everyone's there to have a good time, and they're like, "Oh, you're taking away the fun." It's everything's fun until somebody gets hurt or something goes wrong, and then the second somebody gets hurt or something goes wrong, do you know who's responsible for this? And no one really does. They all just gather their chairs to come watch fireworks, and then when you try to explain to them, like the county puts on a wonderful fireworks show. And then if you miss that show, usually there's another one on the next night because they're not competing with each other and such.
True.
Yeah.
Well, and it's what usually I don't give an opinion, but what's problematic to me is I live in the southern end of the county where we have a large number of farm animals. They don't handle this well. People's dogs don't handle it well. And we have a lot of veterans here who have PTSD, and this is not helpful. And I can't understand. I mean, I love the 4th of July. I love the fireworks if it's the approved ones. But I don't understand the idea of just doing it in a neighborhood where you could be causing stress. I don't get it.
I think because people don't think of it that way. The PTSD, like this is, this area, it's a lot of veterans. You're always hearing about the animals, like, dogs running off. Even with children, the sound, like, I don't know, they're getting louder and louder. So I think people don't think about that. Just like the ones that, go get the fireworks and create a gathering. They just think like, oh, we're just having fun. We're doing it for the kids. We're doing it for the kids is what they always say. And you'll see like maybe 10 kids and 100 adults, so, but that is a big deal, especially in the world that we live in now. And you're having booms go off, not just during firework hours, randomly all night long for days at a time. And sometimes it does sound like a war zone. And I think people don't think about that.
Right. Well, and on a more happier note, so we've done a lot in the county to try to be more forward thinking about dealing with the different issues with the inspections and with the fire marshal and things. Do you see anything else on the future about what's ahead for communities? I mean, Stafford has a lot going on as far as data centers and businesses and Buc-ee's and Truckies and I mean, is there more coming down the pike? I mean, you said, I'm assuming we look at other communities and see what they're doing to try to adapt.
Continuing education and the fire marshal's office needs to grow. I mean, at the time that you've been here, we've lost more than we've gained, I think, through retirement. Divvying up, I feel like, adding more inspectors, like having an inspector for each quadrant, A, B, C, D, and then having a fire marshal for each quadrant, if not more. These buildings that we're building, they're huge. Like we just had, I don't know if we actually say names, so we'll just say an auto parts store. That's, I forget how many square feet it is, but it's one of our more massive buildings, like the distributors centers or whatever.
Yep.
And so sometimes we had a fire marshal just a couple of weeks ago. It took him over a week to do one building because of its massive size.
Wow.
So the other part about having inspectors is it helps us stay on top of our annual inspections, our biannual inspections, our triannual inspections. Because if you think about, you have to hit every business in the county, and then you don't want to risk some of the smaller areas. Like I cover Falmouth, White Oak area, so there's a lot of older business, a lot of older buildings. So they've turned over. Well, if you don't have someone dedicated to that area, to like focus on what's in that area and actually be, on the ground walking this area, someone can move into another business that was a low risk, that's now a high risk, and you wouldn't know it unless you're doing routine inspections. Inspections are important because it's being proactive, preventing protecting people from themselves and getting ahead of the emergencies, so that like our I don't know how to say it, our resources are distributed properly when something is really needed, instead of just like alarm bells because somebody's not doing maintenance on their alarm system, things like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it does.
Yeah.
And so so far the theme is education and being and then being proactive to try to think ahead of things and try to be ahead of it. Well, Iris, you are. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say technology is huge too. Yes. So because like the way that we keep track of these businesses now, just investing in your software to keep track of having a liaison with the building division, permitting department, and a software we can all go and search, like by address to see what's there and keep. So software is a huge, the growth of software is a huge part of that too. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Iris. You've been wonderful.
You.
And thank you for what you're doing, and not just the years of EMT work, but also the fire marshal aspect, which is a different skill set, but still it's the same thing of trying to be helpful for the community.
Yeah.
So thank you.
If I can say thank you to you for doing this, because getting just educating and getting awareness out there. So thanks for having us. We really do appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. Thanks again to Iris Franklin for her hard work in keeping us safe in our public spaces. And now, as promised, we'll close the program today with a few more words from Chief Cardello. Well, welcome back, and one last time, Chief Cardello. And we learned a lot, particularly today, about different elements. And one is we just had the wrap up of the 4th of July, and there's sort of like how people handle it. And it seems as though people are being more responsible when they have done something with 4th of July activities of your fireworks and whatnot around their homes than they had been in the past.
So the biggest piece of advice that we would give to people is leave it to the experts. Most commercial fireworks are illegal in Stafford County. There are legal fireworks. So if you are going to do that, please follow the instructions, the recommendations, have water ready, and do not light off fireworks that are legal and then put them in a trash can after they're finished and then pull the trash can into your garage. We had that happen a couple of years ago, 3 times in one night, where we had significant house fires because people were enjoying the 4th, and after the show was over, they just disposed of the fireworks and in a trash can, and it ended up causing a catastrophic loss for them. So we have, Pratt Park, we have Aquia Harbor, and there's some other places are in the region that you can go and enjoy the fireworks safely and leave it to the professionals.
And it seems to be more and more commonplace. At least I'm old, so I'm getting to see it more often. That people are going to get these illegal fireworks and then using them all throughout the year. Even New Year's, you're getting all sorts of things going off, which it's not. If you're going to do it, which is wrong, you at least should not put it in your house when it's still hot. You wouldn't do that hopefully with your grill, with your charcoal. I mean, most people know enough to let the charcoal cool outside before you put it in a trash bag.
Yeah, and that brings up a good point too about the amount of calls that we get every year on July 4th and throughout the year, but mostly on the 4th holiday, complaints from neighbors and people in the neighborhood using illegal fireworks. So what people need to understand is that we get dozens and dozens of those calls on July 4th, and we can't possibly get to all of them within 2 minutes. Sometimes they go on a list and it might take an hour for us to get there. We team up, the office of the fire marshal teams up with the sheriff's office, and they kind of tackle it. But, they're, in addition to all the other things that are going on, emergency fire and rescue and emergency law enforcement, we have to answer these calls for illegal fireworks. So when we get there, if we don't witness the event, if we don't witness somebody actively using the fireworks, it's really hard for us to write them a ticket or issue a citation for that. We do respond to all the calls, but and the other thing is, when we do see people using fireworks, a lot of times, we'll just have a polite conversation with them and ask them to stop, and they do. So we get, a lot of people are concerned that we don't issue more citations and maybe arrest people who are using illegal fireworks. And it's just not that simple.
Right. And one of the things you said is we respond. Your department responds to so many different things. I think that's what we've learned in the last 2 episodes is there are just so many challenges to the fire and rescue department that I don't think most people in the county realize. I mean, the main thought is, okay, there's a house fire or there's a brush fire, but you have 95, you have the 4th of July, you have public health needs, you have flooding, you have, if we get a microblast and it knocks down trees, and you all are going out there and clearing off the street, the down trees. I mean, you're responding to a wide swath of things, let alone lift and assist, and let alone if there's an emergency situation where somebody is having, was bitten by yellow jackets and is having a reaction.
Yeah,
so,
we're an all hazards department. We respond to everything.
Right.
And even some things that you wouldn't think of. When people are having a bad day and they don't know who else to call because it doesn't really fit in the box of law enforcement, or maybe it's not a fire and they don't know, they call us anyway. And honestly, that's what we're here for.
Yep. And it's great. And the work that you mentioned about the chaplains and all. I mean, it's just, you're all out there doing stuff to be helpful to the community, and you're always training.
Yes.
It is just, I mean, as I said, I was on a ride along and they're sitting there. We had a training about how to handle a new way of handling some type of small fire that was different, or new technology. Somebody's come up with a new plastic, and so we have to know it, or, going around with fire inspectors to find out what chemicals are now in every building, so that if something catches on fire, you all know what to be ready for. I mean, it's just amazing. the depth and the breadth of information you all have to deal with because of what you have to answer. So I really respect everything you're doing, Chief, and all the men and women on your that are out there helping everything. It's just really amazing. And
Thank you for
coming
having
on
me.
our show. Thank you. Thank you again, Chief Cardello. And thanks again as well to Captain Henson, Specialist Kim Orr, and Inspector Iris Franklin for helping us understand just what a few of the many ways that our Fire and Rescue Department works to improve the quality of life for the citizens of Stafford County. We are truly grateful for your service. With that, I want to thank you for joining us on this episode. We do appreciate you and hope that you'll refer us to your friends. Our next episode, we'll be talking about the upcoming November elections. Until next time, I'm Tom Cohen, and you're listening to the Stafford Connect podcast. Stafford Connect is a River's Edge Media original podcast. You can listen to the show anywhere you get your podcast or catch the video on our YouTube channel. Stafford Connect, the conversation begins here.